We're back. And today is day 6. As the email let you know already, we're working on your large intestine. Your gut, right? Your second brain, all the way from your esophagus all the way down to your rectum. Something like 100 million nerve endings. Your second brain, literally. So, big powerhouse. We're going to work a point today that's called the great eliminator of all things, apparently. It doesn't matter what you have stagnant, whether it's your poop or your grief or any other emotion, just generally feeling stuck. We're going to move it. So we're going to move ourselves right into ragdoll today. In yin, it's called dangle. It's literally what you want to do. Dangle your torso. Dangle the weight of your head. Dangle your arms. If it is easier, if you're not familiar, you could take a bolster while you're standing, put it right at your hip hinge, lift the low ribs nice and high, and lower over the bolster. Now we can start this way. It might feel like you're a little impinged, because you are. But I promise you, if you start this way, whether you have a cushion or blocks or whatever, when you take it out halfway through this posture, you will feel like you are melting in half. So the contrast is really what we're going for. And of course, you're balancing on your feet, so you want to find a little activity in the toes and the arches of your feet. Find balance in the feet, not just front to back, but side to side. Sometimes we're inclined to roll over to the sides of the foot or feel the ankle kind of roll in. We're on the inside big toe ball portion of your foot. In our ankle, you want to find some neutral space. And take big breaths, belly breathing, even though you got a bolster in it. Let yourself kind of fill up, move a little out. Exhale sinks you in. We're really honing in on this idea of releasing. Anything that feels like you're holding on to it. It could be your breath, it could be shoulders, you're clenching your jaw. It doesn't need to have something specific because your body is brilliant, right? It doesn't matter necessarily what it is. It doesn't discriminate. When you release, your body releases. So you don't need to get into the details even, unless that's useful to you. Sometimes that's useful. But 8-7, thinking about anything that doesn't serve you, we're going to throw that right out the window today. Any thought patterns, feelings, stuff in your day, stuff in the practice, even though I'm saying it may not serve you. That's okay. You can find something else that supports what you need. Always, not just now, not just in today's class. Not just at our studio, but that is the practice of yoga, so make sure you're practicing yoga. If you're feeling pretty set here with a bolster, you're loving it, by all means keep it, but otherwise I'm going to invite you to remove it gently, fold deeply, and as the pose suggests, redangle. Right, your lung, large intestine, and then your kidney and bladder meridians. Grief, sadness, fear. But we're focusing on releasing that. So we don't need to get too specific about the emotions, just the sensation of release, of relief, letting go. Do that by loosening up, right? Working into the fascia, muscles, all of your connective tissues, the breath. So not holding on to anything. As you slowly find your palms, you might walk them a little bit up your mat, just enough so you can move towards your mat, finding your knees towards child's pose. It might be a wide-legged child's pose. Toes might touch. As you settle your hips behind you, just like we've done in many of the postures, you can support your biscuits with some bolsters, pillows from either your bed or your couch. You can stay here. Or I'm going to invite you to take a threading of the needle variation. So don't move to tabletop. You would stay in child's and just lace an arm underneath you. That palm would face the sky. And it's just the rotation of your arm working into your actual arm bone, right? Working into the shoulder joint to work into that connective tissue. That rotation is enough. It's more than enough. So you don't force anything else and we melt. Right? In an active child's pose or threading of the needle, we're pressing our shoulders down, we're engaging to lengthen the spine, all kinds of things we are not doing today in this yin version. You are melting, playing dead in the hips, softening the jaw, letting your tongue soften. Even though your face is in your mat, it might still feel good to take a little horse breath. 8, 7. And feeling that little bit of allowance for the body to take what it needs. So not dictating that, not forcing anything. And as you unravel, if you are threading one arm, we're going to release it, find child's pose first. Let the arms extend and we'll thread the opposite arm under. Palm is to the sky. Remember that rotation of the arm into the shoulder is enough. So we rest here. Letting those little bits of allowance maybe turn towards surrender as you exhale. Right, thinking about your yamas and your niyamas, the first and second limbs of yoga. Contentment, right? Allowance and acceptance of what is in the moment. In that it's what it is, right? We can't change it, though we might like to. But accepting what is allows us to move forward in reality, right? Based on what is, not what we'd like things to be or wish they could be. And maybe those are just sensations in the body, starting with the physical postures and letting that start to work on all of the details. It might take longer than 3 to 5 minutes. It might take a lifetime. As you start to work gently out of this side, again, finding child's pose for a moment so that we can start to work towards what's called extended puppy. Hips might move a little forward. We come onto the fingertips, those little thriller fingers. And just like dolphin, initially as you set up, forehead could be to your mat, or we take more of a melting heart in yin, brings the heart towards the floor and your chin to the mat. So it's a little aggressive. In theory, we're working towards being able to relax in this pose. If this is not relaxing, move back to find your forehead. And then over time, palms can sink to meet the mat. And as much as you're able, let gravity take over. Let breath take over. Thinking about not exaggerating, right? Non-excess. Again, first couple limbs of yoga. Non-possessiveness, that letting go, not holding on for dear life, whether we're talking about breath, another person, an idea, a pose, your shoulders, whatever it is that you hold on to. Literally and metaphorically, just starting to find that little bit of release. So as you breathe here, about 10, maybe 12 generous breaths. You can make your exhales a little longer. Right? One of the things that is incredibly beneficial, soothing to the body, calming to the nervous system is alternate nostril breathing, which you're not able to do in this particular posture. So in lieu of that, another version of your pranayama that is also soothing, calming to your nervous system is just lengthening your exhales, or bringing in a little bit of that ujjayi quality, that vibration as you breathe in or breathe out, to soothe the nervous system, actually really to tap into that parasympathetic part of it, which lowers your blood pressure and your heart rate, actually physically allows your muscles to relax, allows digestion and elimination to occur, which, as mentioned, we're going to work on throughout today. As you start to mindfully work out of your tucking the chin, easing your way back to child's pose or your tabletop, we're going to come towards your butterfly. So as you move onto your butt, again bringing the soles of your feet to touch and knees to splay wide. If it feels easier to hold this position, to kind of fold forward and relax by sitting on a bolster or a block, then absolutely. Similar to Viparita, right? There's a point where it's just easier to hold the feet up. You're doing less work in the physical body. So wherever that point happens, go for it. It's all gravity. So just knees splay wide. Some days we got to support your knees, less the biscuits. And relaxing the torso, relaxing the shoulders, your jaw again. And we're going to find your large intestine 4. If you are pregnant, if you did not read the email, do not do this pose. If you are pregnant, don't do this. Do not do this pose if you are pregnant. I cannot be more specific. Induces labor, apparently. So please listen, please talk to your doctors, your physicians. I can't be any more clear about that. I don't want to negatively affect anyone. But this is an amazing pain point. So it's not just the great eliminator, as it's called, for your poop, basically, but anything that feels stagnant in the body. So you're going to take between your thumb and your pointer finger, right, between the metacarpals. So if you move up into the flesh between the webbing, it's not necessarily the muscle. You're going to feel where those metacarpals start. There's a little nook. So halfway between there and your pointer finger, that first knuckle, halfway between those points, which happens to be roughly, if you were to, like you're doing a little puppet show, clamp your thumb towards that finger, you have a little crease. Where that crease is generally tends to be exactly the point, and it's right up against that metacarpal bone. So either you can press this away, or you can let the thumb fall and press a little in this way. Either way, maybe you bring your forearms to your thighs and gently relax into this. Drop the weight of your head if you'd like. And allow this to relieve any pain in the body. Headaches, congestion, grief, could be menstrual cramps. Releasing anything you're holding onto, or some days feels like it has a hold on you. So we'll take roughly those 2 minutes here, 2 to 3 minutes on the one side. And as we move eventually towards your forward fold with extended legs, we'll do the other side. But for now, still releasing the breath as you exhale. Still releasing the hips and the knees as you sink into your butterfly, which is also your Baddha Konasana. And using this acupressure point to also tap into that big release, right? Large intestine, your second brain, which is responsible, sort of like the chicken and the egg. It actually has two-way communication with the brain. In that, oftentimes, anything associated, anything that's going on in your gut, IBS, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, you name it, it's often tied to things like anxiety, sadness, depression. Various emotions. So sometimes those emotions cause a response in your gut, and sometimes things going on in your gut cause those emotions. So just being aware of anything that you might feel happening in the body. Maybe it's relief happening physically, very direct in the hand. Maybe you feel something happening through any part of your digestive tract, right? Esophagus all the way down to the rectum. Maybe you just feel your hips opening or your shoulders softening. Notice all of the things, because that really is the yoga. It's not the physical posture per se, right? There's 8 limbs. Those limbs have so many different offshoots. The yoga is you paying attention to the body, having that awareness, the intention, that conscious connection with every little single cell of yourself. Again, turning inward towards that inner intelligence, your wisdom, that intuition, that knowing. It's nothing you had to decide or balance or weigh, read about. You just know. Trust your body. Trust that intuition. And slowly start to release your palm. Right? Slowly start to release your butterfly or Baddha Konasana. You're going to come onto your bum. You might decide to take your prop with you, although for your Paschimottanasana, which in this case is, of yin is called caterpillar. I guess they kind of fold in half, right? Normally they go upright when they do, so closer to dangle. But I'm going to invite you, if you use a prop underneath your bum, to take a block, a book, a cookie sheet, something with a solid edge, so that while we're relaxing, the block can do some of this work. You want to take your sits bones, feel them, maybe move the flesh of your bum out from underneath. Feel the sits bones, wiggle them towards the edge as you extend your legs. You want to have your sits bones kind of rock just off the edge. So yeah, you want that edge kind of driving like acupressure up into those attachments. It might feel a little aggressive, but might feel really good over the course of these next couple of minutes. So feet out in front of you in line with the hips. And we're going to slowly start to fold. So in this case, you're kind of rounding. You might take a block or bolster underneath you at the hip hinge, any tall way, short way, any which way. Same as you did in your ragdoll, your dangle. And maybe it's just that your bolster is on your shins and the block is on the bolster, so your forehead can relax on it. Any way that you can prop yourself up, we're going to switch. Again, opposite hand, not just in the fleshy part of the webbing, thumb in your pointer, but where those metacarpals start, you can feel that little nook, halfway between there and that first knuckle. Again, it tends to be where that little fleshy crease happens, and it's right up against the metacarpal. So again, you can press with both fingers, you can drop your thumb, and then press gently inward. Again, you might have to feel around a little. Side to side, you will feel it when you found it. It's usually a little sensitive. So once you find it, maybe ease up just a little. Just like we release fascia by holding, or at least the adhesions in it, the sticky parts, the thicker parts, by holding space stretches for 3 to 5 minutes. Same thing with these acupressure points. Often it's 2 to 3 or average of 3 or 3 to 5 depending. So, and they're points we can come back to again and again for any pain in the body, but again, specifically for eliminating any stagnant energy. So it's easier said than done most days to do less, to let this work on you. But again, trusting the body, trusting the space. So the Tao Te Ching has a number of chapters, verses, whatever they're called. And a little nugget of one of them basically says, you know, like a vase, that which is useful. And that which is not is also useful, right? I think the beginning of it is carve fine doors and windows, which are useful, right? The thing is useful, the window, the door, but the actual space is also useful. All of the doing is useful. And so is the non-doing. We need both. They were both useful. So 8 breaths. Right? Non-excess, not overdoing anything, not the pressure points, not a pose, non-possessiveness, non-holding. Surrender to what is. Contentment, right? Acceptance of what is. Not easy, any of it. But what we're focusing on today, as we move to find a little more balance between emotions that may have been jogged up or rustled up over the last number of months. You know, as we start to release in our body, they tend to come up, so it may seem counterintuitive, but as things come up, right, practicing that little bit of release, releasing your pressure point, releasing this pose, releasing blocks out from underneath you, and coming onto your back. Inviting yourself towards Shavasana, a space of rest. Again, release and surrender and acceptance, all of those things. But it also might feel nice to prop your hips up for Viparita Karani. Again, block, bolster, anything underneath your sacrum that allows a little less work to hold the legs up above your heart. Inviting you to close your eyes. Might feel good to rest your palms somewhere, to move your arms up to the sky, over your head, any direction. But letting go of the details, letting go of the meridians and facts about your fascia. It's just something you feel, right? You know, it's intuitive. So following gravity as you settle into this much needed deep rest. Shavasana, if you can linger here for a little while today, I invite you to do that, even if it's just a few moments. But whether you're staying or you're off to something else in your day, take a little bit of this with you. You can come back to those pressure points if you need, or just the general idea of releasing physical tension in your body, those ingrained patterns in the fascia, and we will see you tomorrow. So be good to yourselves, and we'll see you soon.